Alright guys, such Kremp again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day. So far, a must-win series today for OpTic and MerceLes, especially against the Ravens, the team that beat Boston, their vanquishes yesterday 3-0 just last weekend. A massively important series to make sure with all of the contenders playing today that the 10 points was on the board for them and the World Championship qualification all but secured. But the way in which they handle business, and certainly the way that the new kid handled business, is nothing short of mesmerizing. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. We'll begin here because all the key championship protagonists today were in play. The teams on the bubble for the World Championship, Cloud9 New York among them, and look, they had a tricky series against Heretics today, but it started off well again. They made a big comeback on their game one to eventually win the first map hardpoint. It was looking all rather good, but unfortunately for Cloud9, they ran into Super again in the search and destroy. Look, we looked at on the Dope Chick show the other day the stats of Super on LAN in search, and on LAN so far this year he's had like a 0.7 in search, but online he's had near enough a 2, which is just completely ridiculous. And honestly, it kind of continues, whereby Super in search is absolutely unstoppable, and that continues to be the case for Heretics today. Had it gone 5, you know, we probably know how that would have gone, but they won the game 2 off the back of that. This was the key map, I thought, really. Cloud9 needed to win the control. They didn't. They did nothing, and in the end, it was a pretty clear-cut dub for the Heretics. They've won, by the way, 6 in a row, search and destroys. They're now 15 in 3 in search since picking up Super. We know what they say, search and destroy wins championships, and look, they did well at Major 1 in Madrid. They did well most recently, of course now Super is there, but they did very well most recently back in, of course, Miami as well, again making it to another Sunday. Could they go further? Look, I just think they're a bit too inconsistent in the respawns to imagine that that's going to be happening, but it's not impossible. And if their search stays this good, and if they can translate it to LAN, which is always the big question here with Heretics historically, but certainly true with the way the team is currently looking, and with Super's numbers at the Major recently, then they could be a serious kind of dark horse candidate. Super was even throwing out the crybaby cheese, so I thought that was pretty exciting. Always good to have somebody else in the league who's not afraid to show a little bit of personality. But yeah, Heretics, they advance now to 4 in 0 on the stage. What a start they've had. They eventually won the Skyline. The search and destroy was important. Super dropped 101 kills for 1.23, and Cloud9, they just about fall apart. They just weren't quite good enough when it mattered, and that was critical for Champs, because next up, another team that needed the 10 points, and they got it. Totally stress-free, Rocker handled business, no questions asked. Well, if you know anything about Minnesota Rocker, that was certainly not true. They made it as hard as was physically possible to make it for themselves, and you know, this is what they do. This is Minnesota Rocker heritage. They play Gentlemates, who have got a little bit better, but they're still bad. Like, they are still bad. Don't get me wrong. Game 1, Nero and Estriel have great maps. I mean, Estriel, not gonna lie, this series, he was doing it all. I mean, can you believe these numbers? It almost looked like the scoreboard is bugged, but when the scoreboard bugs, the numbers go down rather than up. But Estriel had almost 3 minutes in Hill and was double positive. So if that's not enough to win you a map, I don't know what is going to be. The search and destroy was an absolute classic. They somehow found a way to lose. This round, was it this round that pissed me off, or was it the next one? No. Okay, they eventually find a way to make it to 5. Or round 11, sorry, 5-5. This was like just such a classic Rocker round. I honestly was so frustrated. Obviously, Estriel was great this series and deserves credit, but this sums up Rocker in many respects. When Estriel's totally on his own, they've not even really shown much presence yet over towards A, and Estriel's just going to go challing out here. Okay, he runs into Johnny in a bit of a weird spot. He loses the fight, but it's like, that's how you're going to play the round 11? Like, just get picked off one by one and lose? I mean, it was just an absolute classic Rocker collapse. And Ben J was like, look, these guys are totally iceless. And they nearly found a way to do it again. So they won the control. They then lost the Skyline hardpoint, pretty close, but they did lose it. Big map here from Johnny and Kismet on the other side. And then I think pretty much everyone was expecting that they were going to find a way to lose this final map as well. It was 5-2. It went 5-3. It then went 5-4, and oh my god, here we go, baby. Minnesota Rocket then are going to go to round 11 again, and the rest is going to be history. But they saved themselves by not letting it go to round 11. FeLo was in a 1 versus 2. Estriel and Geo, This time, they get the job done, they make it work, and Rocker take the 10 points. So, you know, clear cut, easy as that. Congratulations, Los Angeles Guerrillas Gentlemen. By the way, they've played 27 series this season. They have a record of 4 in 23. So, congratulations. People are calling them, you know, Tom Mate or whatever. I don't know. Obviously, it's not going to last for long. They're 4 in 23. The next series they play, it's going to go. But for now, this is Call of Duty Heritage. So, like, crazy moments, really. Nice, amazing native from Nero to end up. I mean, like, what am I watching, man? What am I watching? Watching some of these teams play at this point. We know full well that it's not a great time for either of these rosters. Kenny was like, look, I had a migraine going into the game 5 as well. It wasn't pretty. But they got the 10 points. They keep their dreams somehow still alive. It's obviously far from easy right now, the way the standings look. And they've bottled so many opportunities, Rocker, to look way better than this. But they got the job done in the end. They got the 10 points. At this point, that's really all they could ask for at the end of the day. So it was a tough fought series, super competitive. But yeah, Gentlemates dropped down yet again. That's what they love to do. Now, this series was so funny that we had Octane bringing up the Subway Surfers live on stream because anything was more entertaining than watching this. But LA Thieves had the Falcons to play. Obviously, Thieves had not started the stage the way they would have wanted. But, you know, if there was any nice bounce back series, this was always going to be it. They handled business game 1, no questions at all. The game 2 was such a foregone conclusion that, as I say, Octane was bringing up the Subway servers because it was something else to pay attention to. It's an interesting season, this, because in many respects, we quite often find that the final couple of stages of online qualifiers, nobody really cares anymore. And I would say that that hasn't happened quite as much as it usually would this year, largely because the OpTic drama has kept the intrigue alive. OpTic bring in new teams, everyone's like, damn, okay, let's watch some of these qualifiers. But this was like just a classic match that happens in the qualifiers at this point in the season, where just nobody cares. Thieves are going to win, Falcons are going to lose, it's only a matter of time. Falcons are bad, they're not going to champs, nothing to play for. Thieves, they're great, you know, they just won the last major, obviously they're going to win. You know, it's just one of those series that, what is even the point? And I certainly felt that watching it. To be fair to Falcons, they actually gave it a go. I will say my one kind of surprise takeaway from this is that Pred went on an actually crazy 6 spree, killing Ghosty about 4 times in a row to eventually win this round here for the Falcons. And it was a great play from Pred, but he did it all with the AR. And I know that it turned some heads right, because you guys remember when Pred was on OpTic and he was, you know, apparently unwilling, I mean, I think he even basically said this, unwilling to trade roles with Kenny. Kenny go to the sub-Pred to the AR. Look, that team was cooked. There was no coming back. But it is interesting anyway that Pred's great with the AR, like he did it in MW3 last year quite a lot, and he uses the aims in this game and often does very well with it as well, but he didn't want to run it for OpTic for whatever reason. So, look, whatever, he's getting the bag to play for a team that's obviously chalked up anyway, but the real intention for this team, I imagine, is looking forward to next year. HyDra was having a good time stat farming, and I thought this was a pretty wild tweet after the series. This is LA Thieves. They tweeted this and deleted it within a couple of minutes. Maybe they thought that it was a bit too far. I mean, that's the only reasonable explanation. But anyway, Thieves say they bet on us and we made sure they cashed out. And here's Pred pointing at the screen and he's got, I don't know, Bavada or whatever it is up on the screen. So, yeah, I thought this was pretty rogue, pretty wild. I don't know what you guys think about it. I know that some were saying they should have just left it up and owned it, but they deleted it within a couple of minutes. Probably someone said, oh, I don't know about that one, Sunshine. Might be a little bit too much. But look, it was entertaining, I suppose. And at the end of the day, Pred had a 1.2, RC's has a 0.7, Priest has a 0.5. So there you go, congratulations. They've done it again, baby. They've done it again. And speaking of champs qualification, this was the big one for OpTic. They'd seen Cloud9 fall earlier in the day. That put them in a nice, comfortable position. Rocker have squandered things for weeks. And with MerceLes in, this was a really big series. We talked about it earlier today, how important I think this was for OpTic to get a win on the board here. Look, we know after yesterday's series that picking up Merc is a good idea. Like, that was very evident. But they still lost to Boston in 5. So today would be far more telling in terms of, okay, Ravens have looked a little bit shaky. I mean, they did 3-0 Boston last weekend, but, you know, still the Ravens team. ever since, I don't know, mid-season, they've looked kind of dysfunctional. Of course, online, you always expect, okay, maybe Gwynn's going to go off, maybe something good's going to happen, maybe Rex is going to finally fit in and they get a bit of a honeymoon phase. But yeah, not in this scenario. So game one, OpTic start off strong on the vault. There was then a pretty remarkable sequence of events. This was one I know that Octane was analysing it a lot, where it's pretty crazy to understand this spawn here, right? So number 6 in TJ has just taken down number 1 in Huke, and yet number 2 in Shotzzy spawns right in the back there. Now, the only reason why this happened is because number 7, Gwinn, is not yet touching the hard point. If Gwinn was in the hill, then that would anchor the spawns back here, and number 2 would probably spawn out on completely the other side of the map, basically, over towards where the final control point is, the B point. But instead, because he was a couple of ticks too early with the respawn, he actually spawns here, and Shotzzy gets a golden opportunity to make what ended up being a great play through the back. He got a couple of kills and turned it on its head, but then Raven spawned in the back, and OpTic got broken again immediately, so it didn't really gain them all that much time. But in the middle of the game, that's when Shotzzy took over, right? And Shotzi's been under a lot of criticism lately, and I can totally understand it, but actually Shotzzy over the last month or so has been pretty damn good. Like, he has, yeah, he's made a lot of mistakes, and they can be criticised, and for good reason. But in terms of impact and execution, Shotzi's been pretty up there, right? I mean, he dropped 48, it wasn't that long ago. He's had multiple real takeover moments and maps. Sometimes that goes too far. It's the old Kremp adage that he used to tell Shotzzy back in the day. Get 1, get 2, but certainly don't go for the 3rd. And, you know, sometimes Shotzzy and even Huke do not necessarily live by that mantra, but it's a good mantra, and when it works, it works. MerceLes, I mean, what a chance to call him, like, dirty Workleys or whatever, because he was basically soaking the hill time while Shotzzy was doing everything necessary on the map, and that was enough to get them the game 1 win. They pulled away towards the end, like many good teams do. So, yeah, Shotzzy with the real takeover game 1. MerceLes had a, you know, not a difficult start, but he ended up with 2 minutes in the hard point, and he certainly didn't have a difficult finish to the series. We'll get into that. This was the search, and this was honestly a bit of a clown show. Like, Ravens went up 3-0. They went up 3-0 very quickly. Now, this is a dealership search, a map that OpTic haven't really played much of at all so far this year. They actually, you know, tend to veto it a lot. And look, they've decided to bring it into the pool today, and it makes so much sense. Like, this map just should be good for them with the way that Shotzzy plays. But Ravens went up 3-0, and they even had a 3v2 in the 4th round. TJ just threw his life away for no reason. And the rest is history, really. Like, ever since that moment, OpTic brought the comeback. This was a pretty crazy wallbang spot from Huke. He literally killed Rex off the bomb. I don't know if you could see him, like his name tag, which would be crazy. But even if it was just a prediction wallbang, pretty crazy this is possible. I know that some people were saying, oh, he should have saved it for champs, but, you know, probably other teams had already kind of discovered it. But Huke used this one to good effect. They won this round. They won a few more rounds. Shotzzy found himself in a 1v2 up 4-3, eventually kills the bomb diffuser and actually clutches this 1v2 from no man's land. So, yeah, it was a pretty remarkable game, but OpTic eventually get the win. This was certainly a moment of all time when you've got OpTic 4 alive. TJ is round the corner here. He is so tempted to smash the door down and go for a kill, or at least creep the door. But he doesn't. Maybe he should have done to at least try and get one and then run away because it was a 4v3 here. But this is Shotzzy in the background cooking up a nade. You can actually see the way that he's throwing it. He kicks up a nade, lobs it across the map, and I think it's Rex, maybe he gets blown up by the car by a site. Seemed like it was a lineup for Shotzzy, so, you know, lovely stuff. Here we go, right? This is what it's all about as far as I'm concerned. OpTic actually doing some prep work. They've got a Huke wallbang, they've got a Shotzzy late nade lineup, and both things won them rounds in critical moments, right? This is what we're talking about with OpTic preparing well, because earlier in the season, there were so many series I'd watch OpTic play and be like, what did you guys do in practice this week? I can actually look at OpTic today and say, damn, like they actually did something. And what they mainly did, to be fair, was sign MerceLes, because this kid is the truth. Certainly, I don't know what it is, but every single series so far, he's at least had a 1 banger map. And I mean, he's walking on water, this guy. Everything this guy touched on this map was turned into gold. Couldn't do anything wrong. Was killing everyone, just making perfect plays all the time. Baiting for his team, treading everything out, sliding around corners. Look, it was, in hindsight, clearly fact, no-brainer getting this guy in the team, and it's really exciting, I think, for OpTic's future. And look, without him today, do they win the series? Maybe they still win the series anyway, but certainly with MerceLes in the team, they will have hope and optimism that they can actually do something really impressive from now to the end of the season. So, Big 10 points on the board for MerceLes. We'll have a look at the numbers here right now on the Breaking Point website because the series has just concluded. A nice little 3-0. And look, MerceLes didn't have the most spectacular game one, but after that, he drops a 1.5 overall in the series, right? Huke with a 1.26. Dashy didn't have to do much, and at the end of the day, that AR duo, if Dashy does a bit more impact, right, and maybe he doesn't even need to with the way that MerceLes is currently playing, is going to be a serious force. So very much interested in your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Tough series for Dylan Rex. Ravens continue to really struggle right now, but I think this is all about MerceLes and OpTic today. MerceLes' first win in an online qualifier, his first win for OpTic, and more than likely at this rate, potentially the first win of many. How good could this team be? I think that's the takeaway from today, because yesterday they were good against Boston, but they lost both Search and Destroys. That will probably come in time. MerceLes is right now looking like a top 5, top 10 player in the game. Like, I'm not going to lie, on these performances over the last couple of days, it's difficult to argue otherwise right now. So, OpTic have a talent on their hands, no doubt. If Shotzzy keeps playing like this, if Huke keeps playing like this, if they can translate it to LAN, they're going to be a threat. And I know that the World Championship race isn't over just yet, but within reason, they'll have the utmost confidence now, OpTic, that, you know, they will be making it, and they might well be making it in some style in Dallas. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.